the hall. Engineer extraordinaire.
You're trying to cause division between he and I.
I would do no such
that's
thing.
not, I mean,
I would
know.
do no such thing ever.
I'm sure he loves us equally. You don't need to do all that.
He sure does.
Can I help you?
No, I can help myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it. All right. Streams up. Stream is up. Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate. The Fan Upstate on YouTube. The Fan Upstate on Twitter. The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Stream is officially up this AM. Lo siento. I am very sorry for the pain in the rear.
What?
Lo siento. Sorry in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Lo siento. Now you may siéntate at your desk and open up the stream.
Are you trying to reach the demographic that the
I may or may not fire my Duolingo back up recently.
The MLB manager can?
I mean, honestly, you know how much more? This is true. You know how much more I would get paid if I could if I was bilingual in sports talk radio? I'd be hired in Miami for $500,000 a year if I could speak Spanish and English.
Well, that sounds like you're being lazy then.
No, I'm just dumb. Like, once again, most of the problems in my life can very simply be traced back to the fact that I am an idiot. I've tried to learn Spanish 50 times. I get to the point where they start getting beyond like una más cerveza, por favor, and then I'm just out. Or
did you order a beer?
Yes, that was one more beer. One more beer, please.
Okay.
Because I'm also polite in Spanish, you know? So last night was fun because last night it got to be about 8:00 in the evening time. The wife who is involved in a chili cook-off at her job today.
Ooh.
Yeah. The wife who was involved.
Why do we never get samples of that?
Oh, she left me some in the fridge. Oh, she had to take it. Like, she cooked it last night. It cooked overnight to take to work this morning.
Wow. I bet you were hungry all night smelling that.
It sucks so bad. My house smells. Now,
that's why I hate slow cookers. I can't stand them.
I will say this. This is going to be very interesting for me. It's going to be very interesting because she made a white chili. And I'm not a white chili guy. I'm a brown chili guy. I'm a classic meat and kidney beans chili guy. She made a white chicken chili. And she's like, I swear you're going to like it. And everything she cooks, I love.
That sounds excellent.
Yeah, I'm excited about giving it a try. So she was up last night getting her chili ready for the chili cook-off today. And it got to be about 8:00. And I'm over in the living room, getting the show set up, hanging out with the doggers. And she's like, hey, click on over to Monday Night Football. I was like, oh, yeah, good call, 8:00. So I grabbed the remote and I popped on the La Televisión. And as I opened up the television and I went to our YouTube TV, because on a living room TV, that's what we had. No, we got Disney, we got Hulu, we got Peacock, we got HBO Max Go Plus, whatever it is nowadays.
Netflix.
We got Netflix. We got them all. We got all the streaming services. And YouTube TV is the one for the watching of the TV. And I popped it on and I went, where the football? Where the football? There wasn't no the football. The football was gone because, as we learned on Saturday, or as many of you learned on Saturday, I knew already, and then I forgot until I was really mad on Saturday. As we all learned on Saturday, ABC/ESPN/ all Disney channels, not on YouTube TV right now. Because the people who run it just can't get enough money. There's just not enough money. Disney's a $75 gazillion company, but they just don't have enough money yet. ESPN, multi-billion-dollar company, just don't have enough money yet. YouTube TV, Google, just not enough money.
Got to afford to be able to pay Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, I got to tell you right now, dudes and dudettes, amigos and amiguettes, I would like to say, maybe stop giving Stephen A. Smith $100 million gosh darn dollars. Maybe stop doing that, and then you don't have to charge me $39 a month for something that I already had when you were on YouTube TV.
You're going to break something else. I mean, that was a little violent.
Yeah. I got to tell you, you want to know why it's violent? Because I'm real mad right now. Now, I am not going to say, because it would be bad and I could theoretically get in trouble. I am not going to say that my wife and I utilized an illegal streaming website last night to watch Monday Night Football because screw you, you're not getting another dollar out of me. What I am going to say is that if theoretically and hypothetically someone wanted to do that, that would be the way to do it. It was
I wish I knew how people who are willing to do such things just automatically know where those things are.
I mean, again, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying I did it or I know anybody who did. I'm just saying if I was going to watch Monday Night Football, that's how I would have done it. I'm like OJ with the book, how I would have done it, but I didn't, right? It's bad. And I don't think that. I a few weeks ago on the radio program, speaking of connecting with the youth, a few weeks ago on the radio program, I brought up a word that I was told by some people is a new word that I added to the vernacular, the lingo, so to speak. And I would like to
6'7"?
No, not that one.
Skibbity?
No, definitely not that one.
Say less.
I can get behind the 6'7" convert. Like I can get behind it because it's like
or
ironically
in front
funny.
of, depending on what you. Yeah. I mean,
Ironically, it's funny to me. The skibbity thing, I will punch a teenager. All right, it's terrible. You have to stop, kids. You just do better. So, the word that I brought up was in bleepification, and the bleep is the S word. In bleepification. And I don't think that the bleepification of technology is hurting anybody more than it hurts sports fans right now. Because as I sat on the couch last night, and I definitely did not cast an illegal streaming site from my computer to my TV in order to watch the game. I definitely didn't do that. And as I sat on my couch and definitely didn't do that, so that my wife and I definitely did not watch Monday Night Football last night. What I realized was...
So if you were to have done that,
which I didn't,
saying Jacoby Brissett was worth getting in trouble for.
I mean, had I done it, I feel like watching Jacoby Brissett lead the Cardinals to a win over the Cowboys, and I didn't see it, but had I seen Jerry in his dumb glasses pitching a fit, right next to Stephen A. Smith in his owner's box, it would have been objectively hilarious to me had I seen it, but I didn't because I have YouTube TV. Which, by the way, scratch that. I don't have YouTube TV as of last night. Canceled it because I'm going to keep it a buck. There's no reason for me to keep it because I did learn about Fubo TV last night because Fubo carries almost all the sports and almost all the games. Now, the bleepification of technology, because the people who have all the money have a problem. You know what the problem is? They don't have all the money, and they want all the money. The problem I had is I realized this last night.
I want all the money.
Yeah, we all want all the money. But there comes a point where I would like to think, and maybe this just isn't true. But I got to think there comes a point where you have so much money that you're like, I'm not going to make anybody else's life suck more so that I can get more money. And they're making our lives suck more as sports fans. I'm not even going on like the general society is questionable right now, rant of Liberab the Wook Warrior, just as a sport. Because here's what happened. On Saturday, I was out working a gig. Now, fortunate for me, I work a gig that like it's a sports thing, so I'm still watching all the ball and all that. But I'm out working a gig on Saturday, and the wife, who's a big Gamecock fan, was at the crib by herself. And she texted me and she said, "Hey, yo, where's my game?" And I thought about it. Now, I was able to like tell her, but I thought about it for a second. And I thought, she is the type of sports fan that makes college football not great, but survive. I think she makes it great, but she makes it survive because she's the type of fan that takes you from a few million people who would watch an Ole Miss South Carolina game to like a lot of diehards who watch an Ole Miss South Carolina game, and all of a sudden that game means something to the Southeastern Conference. They get more money. They hand it to the schools. The schools get to move on and have more money to retain Lane Kiffin. We're going to talk about that in a minute too. And she had no idea where her game was. And had she not had me or someone like me in her life to text and go, where the hell do I watch my game? And then walk her through the process of getting to where it was. Again, definitely not on an illegal streaming site because that's the easiest way to do it.
You're over 40 now, so it's perfectly acceptable for you to put up a TV antenna and get the local channels.
Oh, we're going to. I've canceled our YouTube TV because if I don't have those channels, it's pointless. I've canceled it second off because was anybody else more than insulted when they went, yeah, we know we just took away half your college football platform, a lot of your NBA games, et cetera, et cetera. But since that happened, here's a $20 credit to your account that you pay $90 a month for. Anybody else get ticked off about that? Because I did. So I was like, no, screw you guys, we're out. We canceled it. And I'm going to get my FUBU, and I will not have illegal streaming sites in my household to watch all the games that I can't find anywhere else. It's not going to happen. All of this came to a head when I saw J.J. Watt. You know J.J. Watt, who is actively on television as an NFL color commentator in games? He said last night on Twitter, he's like, so we're just not watching Monday Night Football, right? He's like, I know that there are ways that I could go and like dig it up and find it, but I don't think I want to do all that. If J.J. Watt is telling the people as a NFL color commentator, it's not worth going to hunt down a game, is it worth going to hunt down a game? Especially when the game is Dallas, Arizona. Like if that's Kansas City, Buffalo, I'm putting in a little bit more effort to get there. But Dallas, Arizona? Like is that the game that we got to go through all this for? I don't know, dude. Like I genuinely mean it when I say, I think the embleepification of sport of technology in the broadcasting world has hit sports fans harder than anybody else. Y'all, we took cable and we put it into this world where we were sold it's going to be easier and more convenient and more readily available. And it's, I would argue, it's actively worse now. It's actively worse because now instead of, well, I hate my cable, but at least all on one cable box, now it's like I got to have 90 different streaming services, cluttering up my phone, my tablet, my computer, my Xbox, etc. And on top of that, I don't know where half the crap is anytime I want to use it. And here's the thing. This is so infuriating and enraging. I don't even think I sound like an old boomer right now. I think this is completely and totally justified because the people who are doing it are the suits and ties older than me who just don't have enough money yet. But I'm sure Bob Iger, when he retires and gets $1 billion severance, is going to be just fine. This sucks, dude. It's genuinely deflating, man. Like the one thing that's supposed to be a break from real life, and you're making it harder for us to even have that. You can't even give us that anymore. What are we doing? Should Lane Kiffin stay at Ole Miss? Yes, I'll tell you why coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I genuinely have no idea, Will, from online. What I do know is that I got told by a buddy of mine over the weekend that if you're cutting YouTube TV, Fubo is the right way to go because they just have a lot of it. Now, if it is 70% state by Disney, but I can go on there and I can watch college football, I can watch, Big Ten football, I can watch ACC football, SEC football, I can watch the NFL, I can watch the NBA, I can watch MLB, cool. But like, I'm going to do the research before I buy it. What I do know is I already pay for Hulu Disney. That doesn't come with it. I already paid for ESPN Plus for years so I could watch the Triumph play. That doesn't come with it. Like, you now have to pay 3 different like ESPN bills to watch ESPN. It's obnoxious, dude. Like it's just gotten to the point of obnoxious. We'll be right back. All right, we've all done some light meditation. We've all taken our moment of Zen, and I feel better. So thanks for your concern. Let's talk NCAA football coaching for just a minute. We're going to talk about the playoff poll that's going to drop tonight at 8 p.m. Not much we can do for right now except speculate on it, which we will. But I'm very interested in the coaching carousel. We have already talked about the fact that there are 10 open Power 4 and Division I jobs right now. It is the most that have ever been open in season with the addition of Hugh Freeze after the Auburn loss at home 10-3 to a not very good Kentucky team. I think there's a very good chance that Mark Stoops could end up on that job on that list at the end of the year at Kentucky. And Mike Norvell, I'm still convinced, is going to be on the outs with Florida State at the end of the year. They did win against Wake Forest 42-7. They got Clemson coming up. By the way, we kind of made fun this past weekend. We kind of made fun of Ohio State, Penn State, which preseason was like that might be the game of the year in the regular season. After week 1, it looked like Clemson, Florida State could be in the mix for game of the season. Clemson, Florida State is being played at 6 p.m. on the ACC network. And you go, okay, well, it's an ACC game, Rob. Here's the thing. The ACC network is not recorded by the Nielsen ratings, which means that the ACC is looking at Clemson, Florida State and saying, we need to hide this game. Games on the ACC net, while the ACC net wants to have good coverage on it, games on the ACC network are being hidden because they know that the numbers are going to crash out on them. That's where those two teams are. Trade deadline day.
Okay, according to Adam Schefter, the Dallas Cowboys are finalizing a trade to acquire Bengals middle linebacker Logan Wilson.
Okay. All right. I mean, he ain't Micah Parsons, but it's not a bad player. It's not a bad pickup for that spot.
Bengals are seeking a 6th-round pick. And Jerry's got a lot of picks.
Yeah. So a deal for Dallas. Schefter reports Cowboys finalizing a trade to acquire Bengals middle linebacker Logan Wilson. Sources tell me and Todd Archer early Monday. Jerry Jones told Stephen A. Smith that the Cowboys have made a trade ahead of Tuesday's NFL trade deadline. It is expected to be for Wilson, for whom the Bengals have been seeking a 6th-round pick. Williams signed 4-year, $36 million extension in July of 2023. That still has 2 years remaining on it after this season.
So Jerry told Shefty that he wasn't allowed to talk about till today, so he could have his fun. And
for the record,
and Schefter, got the memo.
That actually is plausible.
Yes,
that
is.
part's actually
it's
very
absolutely.
Plausible. With the whole "it's happened before" thing.
This is not me joking. This is history. So I believe that that's what happened.
I mean, it's listen. There is the possibility that Jerry absolutely had this trade in hand yesterday. There's also the possibility that Jerry was working on this trade, which would, so that we're clear, make sense on why the Bengals didn't say anything. It would make sense that they were working on this trade. It wasn't done yet, but Jerry just went ahead and was like, I'm just going to declare it done for the sake of saying something.
But it's not.
There's also the possibility it was just done and Jerry was being 100%.
It's not done yet.
Right.
Yeah.
That is why I'm still going to stand where I stood on Jerry Jones. Like, you haven't made the trade. You're finalizing it. You might be getting the paperwork in order, and maybe you've got it done to the point of like, send us over the paper, we'll sign it, send it back, and this deal is done, gentlemen's agreement. But the trade's not done. So when he said yesterday, the trade is done, no, it wasn't. What I said is still correct about Jerry. The trade's not done. So again, like, I stand where I stand with Jerry Jones. This is a good pickup, though. Like, I do like the addition of Logan Wilson. He's kind of a hard-nosed interior MLB guy. He's a dude, you're not replacing your edge rusher per se, but he is a good run stopper. He is decent in coverage across the middle. He's going to get you.
How is he with the blitz? I mean, if he's a good blitzer, then you are kind of.
No, he's not. He's gotten. He's been with the Bengals since 2020. He has 5.5 sacks over that span. So, like, his career year was in 2022. He had 2.5 sacks. He is going to get you 0 last year. But he's had 4 interceptions twice. He had 2 interceptions once. He has 0 so far this year. He has 0 sacks so far this year. He is sitting on 46 tackles right now, which has got him about on pace for around career average. His career average is about 117 tackles a season, so he's going to be in the mix for that. Like, it's not a bad player. He's more of a middle consistent role guy. Like, he is going to be a guy who demands attention so that there's less pressure on your edge rushers. He would be, you know who he would pair up really well with? Micah Parsons. He would be a perfect person to pair up with Micah Parsons. So theoretically speaking, of course. All right. So
now I've got the line, I'm not a perfect person.
I mean, that's a parody song we should have done after the trade. Damn, dude, we keep missing our opportunities. All right. So, coaching, NCAA football. We're going to keep you up. We will break the news of trades as trades break throughout the rest of the show. And we'll give you some thoughts on the moves that have been made when we get to the end of the show. Obviously, on tomorrow's show, we'll heavily invest in the NFL trade deadline moves that get made between here and the deadline at 4 p.m. But yesterday, I was talking college football while playing a little EA Sports NHL on the Xbox. Was playing with a couple of the bros, and we were talking college football. One of them is a Florida Gator fan. Of course, Florida, one of the many, many teams that have fired their coach in the season and will be looking for a head coach next year. And Florida's kind of in a weird spot because when Florida fired Billy Napier, LSU still had a head coach in Brian Kelly. He got fired the next weekend. And I pointed out that that sucks for Florida because I think it could be argued that Florida and Penn State were probably on level footing as the two most attractive jobs that were open, no matter who else was going to come open, with the exception of LSU. Now LSU is open. It might be the most attractive job. Now, I will also say, for the sake of the full conversation, because I got to get a lot in the next 4 minutes of radio, Florida should be calling and thanking Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana, for putting his fingerprints all over the LSU situation. Because I think that the most attractive job in the country, the LSU job, probably isn't as much anymore. It's now bogged down because, as I pointed out, now it feels like you're not just answering to the athletic director anymore. You're answering to the governor of the state, the guy that has ultimate institutional control over your school. Now, again, Jeff Landry either misspoke or lied multiple times when he was talking about the situation, but doesn't that kind of make it worse? Now I've got to answer to a governor who is either uninformed, misinformed, or outright willing to lie about the job that I am taking. I think the LSU job has been diminished a little bit. So the question obviously has been what domino falls first. And the belief has been once Lane Kiffin makes his decision that the rest of the jobs will start to fill up after that. We have already had a couple of ADs that have spoken out. Pat Kraft at Penn State has already spoken out about it and given his qualifications for who the next Penn State coach is as a person. John Cohen yesterday said that he is not going to put together a wholesale committee to find the next Auburn head coach. Effectively said, I will listen to football guys, but at the end of the day, I am the committee. I will make this decision. It is going to be on me. And I like that because it shows the AD has belief that the program can be good and that he's just got to find the right guy for it. So Auburn is kind of more attractive as a job while LSU is less. I got to tell you, I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't know that there's a reason for Lane Kiffin to leave Ole Miss. I really don't. You can make the argument that Florida has more resources. And they do. Nicer facilities, more resources, more history. Here's the thing. Over the past handful of years, has Florida been relevant at all? No. Florida hasn't been as relevant as Ole Miss since Lane Kiffin got there. So they might have resources, and they might be able to offer a little bit more money. But if Lane Kiffin's telling the truth and he's saying, the decision will not be money driven by me, then I think you stay at Ole Miss. LSU, I'll tell you right now, I don't know anything, and I think that this is something that should be a pat on the back to some degree. I don't know anything about Lane Kiffin's politics. I don't know if he lines up with Jeff Landry politically or is on the opposite side of the political aisle from Landry. What I know is that's irrelevant now. What matters now is the fact that Jeff Landry is getting involved, is either misinformed or lying about the job, and is now getting his fingerprints all over the job. So if you're Lane Kiffin and you take that job, even if LSU is going to pay you more than anybody else in the country, you also recognize that it comes with a set of circumstances and qualifications that are certainly different, but I would also argue probably more pressure packed than anywhere else in the country. And I've said this a few times. If the University of Indiana can offer Kurt Cignetti a $96 million contract, you better bet your hind parts that Ole Miss can offer $96 million. And so my question is, if you're in the shoes, Gucci, by the way, I saw him at SEC Media Days rocking the Gucci tennis. If you're in the Gucci's of Lane Kiffin, Joey Freshwater, and you're looking at these jobs that are open, you're looking at Penn State, LSU, Florida, staying at Ole Miss. And you know that Ole Miss is head over heels about you right now. You can, as Matt Rule said about Lincoln, Nebraska, do anything you want. Lane Kiffin could probably right now call up the city council of Oxford and be like, I'd like you to rename this place Kiffin, Mississippi. And they'd probably do it if that's what it took to keep him as the head coach for the Running Rebels. I think he's got to stay. And I think he's got to stay. And that is partially making the assumption that Ole Miss will find $96 million to match Curt Cignetti or $98 to beat him or whatever. But if Ole Miss is willing to come off of making Lane the third or fourth highest paid head coach, maybe second or third highest paid head coach in college football, honestly, I think he's got to stay. I think it'd be silly not to stay. You go to LSU, you got to deal with state government and the governor getting all up in your business. You go to the University of Florida, you might have more resources, but I would say, A, the expectations are dramatically higher. B, you're starting off in a worse place in terms of football than you are in right now. You would be taking, from the standpoint of what's on the field, Florida is a step down from Ole Miss right now. So you'd be taking a step down in terms of football talent. You'd be taking a step up in terms of pressure and expectations. And as somebody who covered that program for a long time, broadcasting in the great state of Florida, I got one more thing for you. Florida fans are wildly impatient. I think Penn State will give their next coach a year or two to get it together. I think LSU won't, but that's more the governor than the school. Ole Miss will give Lane Kiffin as long as he wants. I think Florida fans being as impatient as they are elevates the pressure and the expectations for Lane Kiffin if he goes to Gainesville, Florida, higher than ever before. Now, I think Lane Kiffin probably fits better in Gainesville than anywhere else or anybody else. But I got to say, I think I'm staying at Ole Miss. And I think I'm staying at Ole Miss at that point, assuming they're going to pay me Curt Cignetti money. I think I'm staying there because the program right now, talent on the field, is better than Florida. The expectations are lower than Florida, and I don't have to deal with the bull crap that is coming through the door in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The more I think about it, the more, and the point of all this is, could you imagine a world 2, 3, I was going to say years, hell, 2, 3 months ago, where I would have told you Ole Miss might be a better job than Florida because they have less, for a guy like Lane Kiffin, because they have less pressure and they're going to have top 3, top 5 coaches' money in the pocket for you. Would that have made sense 2, 3 months ago? Certainly not 2, 3 years ago. I don't think so. How wild is college football? That Lane Kiffin would be better off staying in Oxford, Mississippi than going to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or Gainesville, Florida. That is absolutely wild. Also wild is all the sports news that happened yesterday, some of which Lonzo is going to tell you about right now.
That's what I do. Wild and crazy. The Arizona Cardinals knocked off the Dallas Cowboys last night, 27-17. Jacoby Brissett started in place of the injured Kyler Murray, going 21-31 for 261 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott completed 24 of his 39 attempts for 250 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 pick, but was sacked 5 times. The Cowboys turned the ball over 3 times in the loss. That's not good, by the way. The Atlanta Braves have promoted bench coach Walt Weiss to the role of manager, replacing the retired Brian Schnicker. Weiss was the manager for the Rockies from 2013 to 2016, going 283 and 365 and never finishing above third place in that division. The NFL trade deadline is this afternoon, with a few moves already being made. The Dolphins sent pass rusher Jalen Phillips to Baltimore in return for a 2026 third-round pick. The Ravens also added Titans edge rusher Draymond Jones in exchange for a conditional 5th-round pick. That could become 4th. We'll be back. I have to blow my nose.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE is the number. If you would like to be a part of the radio broadcast, now is a spectacular time to make that happen. We've got a lot that we have talked about, a lot more we will talk about as the show rolls on. Trade deadline in the National Football League is today. 4 p.m. is the cutoff. We have had a few moves. We have a few moves that are in process. And we have I assume, a lot more that will break through. You know what? I keep saying that. We're going to have a lot more. I don't know that we will.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to happen. We've had years where hardly any trades were made at all.
Yeah, and it's like right now, it's like objectively slow right now. Now, granted, it could be just that moves are being finalized. It also may be that just not a lot of moves are going to get made. So we'll keep you up to date on that through the final 2 hours of the show. And obviously on tomorrow's radio broadcast, we will break down whatever moves happen between 10 a.m. and 6 a.m. Well, I guess 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. this afternoon to wrap up NFL trade deadline. So we got that coming up for you tomorrow. We have got your first college football playoff poll. That is going to drop at 8 p.m. this evening. So when I'll take a look at what we think that is going to look like, I'm going to tell you, I don't think week one is going to be that much different than the AP poll. And this is, again, I don't want to necessarily go off on this now. We'll talk about it when we get to that point. But this is the reason that when the preseason poll drops, as much as I agree with all of you when you say, like, preseason polls, we shouldn't get up in arms about them. I agree with those of you that go as far as saying they shouldn't exist. Like, I'm fully with you. I could do without preseason polls. In fact, I would even go so far as to say, now that I know the name Cokie Riley from the Baton Rouge Advocate, I'd go so far as to say, like, the AP poll as it exists shouldn't exist. We should just overhaul the whole gosh dang thing. But we don't, we haven't, we won't. So that is the reason that I have said, and we'll say again, I do care about the first AP poll. The reason is because what happens tonight at 8 p.m. is 1,000% going to be influenced by it. Like, we can all put our heads in the sand and pretend that that every single college football playoff committee voter has watched every game of every team that they would consider to be inside the top 12 teams in football. But come on, dude. You know that's not true. You know that's not a thing. It's first off, I'm going to say this lovingly, I don't think it's possible, right? Now, they have access to resources that we don't, right? Like, they are getting game film that has no commercials, it has no wonky stuff. Like, it is just cut and dry. Here's what happened in the game. And those tapes are probably, 40 minutes long altogether. So they have tools and access to resources we don't have. But still, you are talking about a dozen games, even if you were to just keep it to the top 25 teams, all the teams that you're like, okay, maybe they could jump in or not. You are talking about 300 football games over the course of the season. This is why that poll, A, matters, but B, shouldn't exist in its current way that it exists. It just shouldn't. It should be opened up to a hell of a lot more people from every part of the country so that the people in the Midwest who are most hands-on with teams in the Midwest are hopefully accurately ranking the teams in the Midwest. The guys in the Southeast, the guys in the Pacific Northwest, the guys on the Pacific Coast, the guys in the Atlantic Northeast can all do a good job of accurately getting, and then we merge them all together and it gives us a more accurate and less biased set of results. I think that would be the way to handle it, but we'll see. And we'll see how close the playoff poll this evening is to the final AP poll, or excuse me, to the AP poll from Sunday night. And we will break that down tomorrow on the radio program as well. I do want to talk more for just a few minutes about the Atlanta Braves here for just a second. We did get yesterday a few baseball stories that took place. We have got Drake Baldwin from the Atlanta Braves, catcher, rookie, in the NL Rookie of the Year conversation. Honestly, I think he ought to win it. One of the other guys is a right-handed pitcher who had limited time. Like, he was good when he had time, but limited time. I think Drake Baldwin, for the pressure, the position he was put in, and more importantly, the fact that he was splitting time with Sean Murphy, and when he got his time, he shined. Like, there were a lot of Braves fans, raising my hand, me, that thought as we got to the end of the season, number one, Sean Murphy should have been traded at the trade deadline and stacked up on some prospects. And number two, Drake Baldwin should have been the full-time starter. Now, if there was a pitcher in the rotation that said, I only want to pitch to Sean Murphy, we've got the chemistry down, like, cool. But still, like that, I don't know that would have been made it. Anyway, that would have made it right. So, Walt Weiss has been promoted, I should say, from bench coach of the Atlanta Braves to skipper. He is now the manager. He is replacing the now retired Brian Snitker. And when I got that information yesterday, to say I threw a temper tantrum would be fair, to be honest with you. I did. Dear friend of mine, Andrew, big Braves guy. He's my Braves guy that we just talk ball together. He sent me the notification like when it dropped. And it came with really all caps question mark, to which I said, eye roll emoji. Like that was all I could come up with. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see how going from Brian Snitker, when last year, I think you had a couple of problems with Brian Snitker. I think the first was, and again, I know that this is going to set some of you off. I don't care. I think the first is, as good as Brian Snitker was back in 2020, 2021. And I'm even going to go so far as to say, and I don't even think this is in retrospect because I had this opinion at the time, I don't think Brian Snitker really had to do much for that team. I think that team pretty much ran itself. There wasn't a lot of managerial decisions. There are some teams that need a lot of good managerial decisions. Like, you're a good team, but you need somebody that knows what buttons to push at the right time. Like, look at the Dodgers this year. The Dodgers needed Dave Roberts this year. I don't know that next year they will. Now, the Dodgers are kind of a different breed of cat. Joe Kelly, their former closer, said on a podcast the week going into the World Series, he said, y'all don't really understand, the Dodgers are kind of different. And the point that he was making was that the Dodgers don't run their organization like most organizations because they're so good and they're so deep that if you get banged up, if you get hurt, or if you go on a cold snap for the Dodgers, they bench you and effectively stash you. Like, we're not going to rush you back. We have zero interest or need to rush you back. We got too deep at almost every position on the baseball diamond. We don't need to rush you back. So they can keep guys in reserve that may be starters everywhere else in the league and just have them ready when they need them. Or make sure that Shohei Ohtani is 1,000% good to come back. We don't need to rush him back. When he's ready. Whatever. But even with a team that good, when they got to the World Series and the Jays had their backs against the wall, Dave Roberts was making, wizard decisions as a manager. The decision in Game 7 to go back to Glasnow, to go back to Yamamoto. A lot of managers wouldn't have had the stones to do that. The decision to put Andy Pages back in center field, where he played a lot this year, but he went cold in the playoffs. He took him down, put Tommy Edman. Edman had been good, but randomly he's like, okay, Pages for Edman. Sends Pages out there like 2 pitches later. Deep ball out to the deep center, and Pages gets on his horse and catches the ball for the third out with the bases juiced. A ball that Tommy Edman could not have caught. That would have won the game and the World Series for the Blue Jays. Wizard. I need a manager in Atlanta because it's a good ball club. Like, there's talent, there's a young core. This was the problem that we had last year. There's talent, there's a good young core. But somebody's got to manage it. And I don't think Snit was either capable of, or if he was capable, he just wasn't doing it last year. This is why, how many times did you hear me say, I could not watch Braves night games, especially left coast Braves night games. I couldn't watch Braves night games because almost once a game, I honestly think it got to a point that it was being done as a gimmick by the TV networks covering different Braves games. Almost as a rule, at some point in the game, usually in the 6th, 7th inning, they would put a camera on the bullpen and you would see Brian Snitker and he'd be sitting there on his platform and he would lean back and once a game you'd see big yawn, man. And it's like, I get it. It's a random game in June, but like, dog, you're the manager. If you're sitting on the bench yawning, like violent yawning, right? That type of yawning that if your husband or your wife do it, you're like, babe, seriously?
No chance he was just having problems with his nasal passages and had to breathe through his
all
mouth.
Season long, every night, but only at night?
It gets worse at night.
No, the guy just didn't have the energy for it. And that's okay. He's 70. Like, I'll be honest. If I make it to 70, like, I hope I have the energy just to, like, stay awake and watch some TV. I get it. I'm cool. Like, I understand it, but, like, that's not the job that you need to be in.
When you're 70, it will be beamed straight into your eyeballs. So.
I hope so, because I won't have the energy to grab the remote and turn it on. I get it. So, the other issue that I think you had here was, I think there was, and I think empirically, provably, a disconnect between Brian Snitker and the team. Remember, this is not, there were some guys on it, but this is not the same team and roster that won the World Series in 2021. It's a different group of guys. There are some that are still on the roster, Ronnie, etc., but there's a lot of guys that aren't. And there was an obvious disconnect. This is why the last 2 seasons running, you have had Ronald Acuna Jr. posting passive-aggressive things on his social media. And it just becomes a distraction on the sideline. Because here's the thing. A lot of the guys in the clubhouse are going to take Ronald Acuna Jr.'s side before they take the manager or the team's side. They just are. They're too closely and culturally connected to do that. So at a point in time where I'm watching, for instance, the Giants with going and getting Tony Vitello out of Tennessee. Am I saying Vitello's going to work out? No, I'm not. You know what Tony Vitello is? You know why he got the job? You know why he became the first ever guy to go straight from college to a pro manager's job with 0 MLB experience? Because they don't need him to be a front office guy. They saw empirically at Tennessee that Tony Vitello is a guy that can walk in a locker room. He is a guy that can talk to the team, and he is a guy that has the emotional surge to pick up everybody in a locker room. They saw that. He's a type of dude that's going to go out on the football field and go the bleep to war, and the boys are going to line up behind him. Snit wasn't that. And again, maybe I'm wrong. And maybe on opening day next year, maybe Walt Weiss is out there at 65 years old and he's just like wearing the bleep kicking boots and he's bringing it to the clubhouse. But like, I doubt it. And so what you did was in a year where, and this is where I think I'm frustrated. Throughout the course of the season, Alex Anthopoulos, the general manager who is largely credited with making the late season trades in 2021 that won the Braves the World Series, went and got Jock Peterson, etc. Throughout the course of this year and into the early offseason, when the other, 10 jobs, 9 teams that had a job opening, were going and getting guys. And a couple of retreads, but like young guys, energetic guys, exciting guys. While that's happening, Alex Anthopoulos is still trying to convince Braves fans last year was just bad luck. Hey guys, it's just injuries and bad luck. Well, every team has injuries. Even Rob Brown will say, yeah, every team has injuries. That's part of it. Even though I hate the phrase next man up mentality, every team has injuries. And it is not as if, yes, you had, you lost Ronnie, you had Ozzie Albies out for some time, Michael Harris was out for some time. I think like Matt Olson and the Big Bear, Marcell Ozuna, were the only guys who didn't miss like significant time. Almost everybody else did. You had Chris Sale out for a long time. Spencer Strider was out for a long time, whatever. I get it. But even when the team was healthy, they weren't good. And to me, I don't know where to put that but on management. And so when I have a general manager who ends the season by saying, oh, it was injuries and bad luck, and decides not only was it injuries and was it bad luck, but we're going to run it back. Because I will tell you this, I am mentally preparing myself for the Atlanta Braves not to do anything personnel-wise in the offseason. I think they will pick up the contract of Chris Sale and add him, extend him. I think they'll probably grab like 2 or 3 mid to low tier bullpen arms. Maybe they add like a backup infielder somewhere. And they stock the prospect farm a little bit, which even that wouldn't be a terrible idea. But like, you don't have a lot of resources to do a lot with it. I think that they're going to do nothing personnel-wise, on-field personnel-wise in the offseason. And they're going to be the same team next year. Because you went from Brian Snitker to the most Brian Snitker-like guy in baseball. And again, because I want to ensure that I am giving both sides of the debate as best I can. Walt Weiss does have something that Brian Snitker did not have. Walt Weiss was in the show. Walt Weiss was an MLB player for a long time, high level. Walt Weiss played for the Braves from, 97 to 2000. I think 2.5 years. Well, 3 years. Back half of his third year, he was replaced by Rafael Furcal. But he was a 3-year player in Atlanta when the team was good. Went to the NLCS in 1997. He was a part of that team, major part of that team. Walt Weiss was an all-star when he was with Atlanta. I think it was the 97 year, his only all-star year, but 1 year with Atlanta. That's something that Snit didn't have. Snit had longevity in the program. Like, he had been a Brave for, 1,000 years. So he was very familiar with everyone in the organization. But at the end of the day, being familiar with everybody in the organization doesn't mean you can go in there and be a good manager. And that's my fear, or that was my fear with Snit. At least, again, Walt Weiss has MLB experience, but there was not a point where I saw Walt Weiss. Like, I wasn't even upset about Ron Washington getting the job for the Angels. Why? Because while Ron Washington, about the same age as Brian Snitker, while he was in that same age range, you know what I did see Ron Washington doing last year? I saw him on the sideline, and the boys were working with and around him. I saw at one game last year, Ron Washington be approached by a player from a different team and ask him to run him through infielding drills 20 minutes before they played Ron Washington's team. And you know what happened? Ron Washington did that. Grabbed his fungo bat, and he ran the guy through infield drills before he played that guy. Players love that cat. I will take an old guy that I know players love that cat. I've got zero evidence or reason to believe that's the case here. So when you know, or at least I know, but when it certainly looked like your team had a massive disconnect from manager to roster last year, why are you going to go get the next guy who is aesthetically the exact same as Brian Snitker? And I have zero reason to believe he has any sort of a different relationship with the team and think a damn thing is going to change. Braves fans, strap in, because next year is going to suck too. And the problem is, after next year sucks, everybody's gone. A lot of your young guys are going to be on their way out, either because their contracts are running up or because they're going to want out, and I wouldn't blame any of them. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, what sucks is like, hey, you're agreeing with Smith that the only problem is, yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, that's been the war cry of Anthopoulos. It's injuries and bad luck. It wasn't bad luck. It was bad. You don't have to say luck. It was just bad. And you're getting a guy who's the same guy. So why would I believe anything is going to change? I have no reason to. I hope I'm wrong. I will be happy to eat the biggest plate of crow in my life if I am, but I got no reason to believe anything's going to change. JC said Lane would be crazy to leave. He has everything he needs to build a dynasty where he sits. The places that are calling may tempt him with big money, but they also have a history of turning on a new hire real quick. He's done the hard work of getting established in Oxford. Why repeat that labor anywhere else? Completely agree, JT. As long as Ole Miss is willing to pay Lane, as long as Ole Miss is willing to pay Lane the way that Indiana paid Kurt Signetti, the way that Oregon paid Dan Lanning, and obviously Oregon has more money. But if they're even Indiana, if they're willing to pay him Kurt Signetti money, there's zero reason Lane Kiffin should leave Ole Miss. I totally agree. Be right back. All right, 844-326-3663 is the text line and the call-in number. You can also join us on the live stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate, the Fan Upstate on YouTube or Twitter, The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. JT has popped into the live stream. He said Lane would be crazy to leave Ole Miss. He has everything he needs to build a dynasty where he sits. The places that are calling may tempt him with big money, but they also have a history of turning on a new coach real quick. He's done the hard work of getting established in Oxford. Why repeat that labor anywhere else? I will say there is one thought, because I do agree with JT on that take. It doesn't feel like it would make a whole lot of sense for him to leave Oxford, Mississippi, when he is in a pretty good spot right now for anything less than money. Because yes, even if Ole Miss can come off of a $96 million contract for him, LSU in Florida can pay more and will pay more to whoever they get. They will pay more. I mean, unless they decide to go with another, speculative Billy Napier style hire, they will pay more. That's why Billy Napier only had a $22 million buyout. So there is only one thing that I can think, which is if you believe that, and I will tell you that while I do think that the construction is a part of it, I do not think that it is possible for just anybody to do this anywhere. Lane Kiffin has been referred to as the Portal King a number of times. And in being referred to as the Portal King, obviously he has utilized the portal to build Ole Miss into the team that it is today, a top 5 team in college football. We have seen a lot of other coaches, Mike Norvell. We have seen a lot of other coaches that have tried to build via the portal. And it can work for a year or two. I will say this. The question mark for Lane Kiffin, and the reason that if I was Florida or if I was LSU, I would be a little hesitant perhaps around Lane Kiffin, is what if this is a 1-year Mike Norvell with Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman year? What if this is his Mike Norvell year from 2023? Now, I don't think it is, because I think Lane's got enough success in places he's gone that he got elevated to Ole Miss. But what if it is? What if it? And I think it is fair to say I wouldn't want to roll the dice on that if I'm a coach hiring. But then I really thought about this from the perspective of LSU, from the perspective of Florida, from the perspective of Penn State. And especially if you're Penn State, because of the guys that you were interested in, there were 3 names off the rip that to me were most likely to end up at Penn State. Number 1 was Curt Cignetti. You go get him out of Indiana. Curt Cignetti signed a $96 million deal to stay in Indiana. Number 2 was Matt Rule at Nebraska. And there were thoughts that was likely. Matt Rule did go up on the thoughts of, on the Pat McAfee pod and give his thoughts on that. And listen, he was like, I'm not going to worry about that in the season. I'm the king of Lincoln. I can do whatever I want here. This is a diehard place. Everybody loves it, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm not going to lie. I had the thought at the time of Matt Rule is probably using that to leverage more money out of Penn State, right? Because it's one thing to say, we want Matt Rule. Is another thing to say, we want Matt Rule and we're willing to pay X because we know we have to lure him out of Nebraska where he loves to be. Well, Matt Rule signed a huge contract extension that takes him through the 2032 season. Now, remember not too long ago when I said I thought that we would see a change in buyouts or buyout structure for coaches? You know what Matt Rule's buyout at Nebraska is right now? $15 million, less than Billy Napier's was at Florida. And that is through 2032, $15 million. So that leaves the third name on the list, which is Ohio State offensive coordinator Brian Hartline. And I do think that is who is going to end up at Penn State. And I partially say that because since those names initially dropped as most likely, no one's been added to the list, right? Like not even the podcasters that cover the Buckeyes are like, okay, let's go dig up some other names. Like there's no one being added to the list. And while right after the firing of James Franklin, You saw Pat Kraft, the AD, come out and like immediately start talking about this is what we're looking for, and here's the criteria, and here's the personality traits, and here's this, and here's that. We ain't heard a word from Pat Kraft since then. That leaves me to believe that they are lying in wait, that they are sitting back. And it may be because they have already had a conversation with Hartline or his agent. It may be because they haven't, but they just like, that's our guy. And we're going to pay whatever's necessary to get him out of Ohio State and get him here. I don't know. But what I will say is when I take all those factors, Cignetti's contract, rules extension, but keeping the buyout at just $15 million, which by the way, part of the reason, and this is another factor in the buyout stuff, part of the reason that Matt Rule got a $15 million extension is effectively to keep him in Nebraska one more year. Because remember, the buyout is not just for a coach to get fired and get a buyout. The buyout goes the other way too. If Matt Rule suddenly decided he does want to go to Penn State, he now has to pay $15 million to Nebraska to buy out of that contract. Or Penn State would have to buy $15 million from Nebraska to get Matt Rule out of there. So like when I said I think we'll see a difference in the way the buyout works, you do have to some degree temper that because it is to protect the schools from the coaches taking jobs elsewhere as well, right? So it's kind of a balancing act if you're the school. On one hand, you want to give a buyout that if he's there 2 years, 3 years, and clearly he's just not the right guy for the job, it's not so exorbitant that you can't afford it. Mike Norvell at Florida State. But you also don't want to make it so low that if he kicks a bunch of ass, another school can swoop in and go, oh, he's got a $5 million buyout? Yeah, no problem. We'll cover that, right? And again, if the story about James Franklin's buyout being paid by Adidas is true, if the story about one booster paying the lion's share of Brian Kelly's contract is true, you don't think you're going to find a T. Boone Pickens somewhere that goes $5 million and we move on from this coach? Chicken scratch, dude. Like, your school effectively needs one billionaire alumni and you're good for a $5 billion. So it's a balancing act. But blah, 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 put all that together. And what I see here is, if I'm Lane Kiffin, there's no reason to leave. The only concern Ole Miss is going to have is this year a success because of the portal? And could he be Mike Norvell Volume 2.0, where he builds a portal team, he makes a run, it's a really good run, and then he turns around the next year and he just absolutely craps the bed because the portal explodes on him? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Probably not, because I still think he's a good coach. And speaking of, I think Lane Kiffin relates to his players better than a lot of other coaches do. And I think that's part of it because he is such an authentic person. May not like his authenticity, but he is authentic. So when I circle all around this, I look at this with the same mentality JT had, which is, why would I leave? What sense does it make for Lane to leave Ole Miss, a place where he is the king of the city, a place where they'll name the damn town after him if he wants him to, a place where Ole Miss is going to give him everything he wants. And again, all of this works on the presupposition that Ole Miss will find Curt Cignetti money and make him one of the top 2 or 3 highest paid coaches in college football. But again, if Indiana can do that, you're damn right Ole Miss can do that. I got to tell you, I think we are long past the days where a school like an LSU or a school like a Florida, or hell, even a school like a Penn State can just say, we'll hire whoever we want. If you're not one of us, upper echelon, blue blood, top of the litter, if you're not one of the elite, we'll take your head coach and not think about it. I think those days are gone. If Indiana can pay 96, if Ole Miss can pay 96, and the pressure stays as high as it is at Florida and LSU, and it stays where it is for Ole Miss and Indiana, why would Curt Cignetti or Lane Kiffin leave? Like everything we're talking about with Lane Kiffin, it was an identical conversation with Curt Cignetti. Identical. Let's take a break. We're back after this. We'll talk some more stuff on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Creative teasing there. I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble for that. Ugh, gross. Stay right there, guys. Got to take a look at some new software. Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and AL. Be a part of the show, 844-326-3663. The first college football playoff poll will be dropped later on today. I said earlier in the show, I stand by it. I do think that the first playoff poll, I don't think you're going to show up tomorrow going, OMG, Rob, we need to talk about how shocking this was, because I do not think it is going to be shocking at all, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be pretty much in line and in league with the AP poll.
So you don't think there's any chance that maybe they put Indiana ahead of Ohio State?
Nope. I do not.
You don't think there's any chance that they put someone in front of Indiana?
Nope, I do not. I think you're going to see, honestly, I think it is possible, say probable, that you are going to see an identical top 10. You might see one or two spots flip. I think it's going to be pretty much. I'll put it this way. If there is a significant difference, and I do not think that there will be, but if there is a significant difference anywhere, I will genuinely be tuned in. And I'm assuming tonight when the poll is dropped, which, by the way, YouTube TV members, is on ESPN, so have fun with that. When the poll is dropped, I'm going to assume that we will hear from Rich Clark, the executive director of the college football playoffs. And I'll be interested to hear how he describes the rationale behind there being a big difference. Because I will also tell you that looking through at least, let's say, the top 12, I don't really have a problem with it. Now, earlier in the season, there were a lot of spots up and down the polls that I had some genuine problems with. I don't right now. I do think Ohio State is the best team in the country right now. I do think Indiana has proven that they are closing rank, but not as good as Ohio State. But I think Indiana behind Fernando Mendoza has proven they might be the second best team in the country. I think Texas A&M, as far as I'm concerned, has proven that they might be the best team in the Southeastern Conference overall. Marcel Reed is not a dude that any of us expected to potentially be the most successful quarterback in the college ranks, or excuse me, in the SEC. Alabama at number 4. Everybody was ready to jump off the wagon after the loss to Florida State. I came on the show on Monday and I was like, guys, you might want to hold your horses on that. Even 2 weeks later, after Florida State won 3 games in a row, I'm like, I told you, it's not a bad loss. To this day, even though Florida State hit the bricks there for a minute, I still don't think that was a bad loss for Alabama. That was a different team we saw. No problem with them being 4. Of course, if they're 4, you want to put Georgia behind them, Georgia's got to go behind them. They beat Georgia, fine with that. Oregon behind Alabama and Georgia, no problem with that, as much as I do my best not to be a SEC guy. The reality of the situation is Oregon has not beat anybody of significance. I mean, they would have had Penn State not absolutely crapped the season, but the only other ranked game they played was Indiana. They lost that game at home. There's nobody else on the resume. Now, I think Oregon's a good team. I think Dante Moore's a good quarterback. I think Dan Lanning might be one of the best coaches in college football. There is a reason that Nike and Oregon are willing to pay Dan Lanning as much as he's getting paid. The reason is he's a great coach. Hopefully he gets a chance to prove that in the playoffs. Ole Miss at number 7, no problem. Anybody got an issue with Ole Miss right now? It's hard for me to say yes. They've got, again, 1 loss, and it's to now the number 5 team in the country. I got no issue with BYU, honestly. Like, BYU is a team that 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was like, hey, man, like, they run the ball. They're pretty good at running the ball. I don't know how I feel about them yet. I've watched a couple of BYU games. This team, if you are one of the people that clamors for the day of college football gone by, where it's just like run the ball as if you are mad at the defense, may I introduce you to the BYU Cougars. That's how they play. I got no problem with them being there. Texas Tech, number 9, 1 loss. They did not have their starting quarterback or, wide receiver. No problem there. Number 10, Notre Dame, no problem there. 6-2. They lost their first 2 games out of the gate. They lost one of those to a team that would be number 2 in the country for a while. Now, granted, Miami's fallen off, but that feels like a different team now. Their other loss was to now number 3 and one of only 3 teams with an overall first place vote, Texas A&M. They've beat everybody and done so relatively convincingly since then. No problem at number 10. Oklahoma at 11. Honestly, if there is a team I think is too high inside the top 12 spots, it might be Oklahoma. Lost to Texas, got beat by Ole Miss. Like, I think Oklahoma might be a little bit high in that spot. You know how I feel about No Fear John Mateer, but since he came back from the surgery, he's not the same dude. He's just not. This is why that South Carolina loss to Oklahoma was so shocking, right? Like, he was spinning the ball, but he didn't have the accuracy he did before the injury. That's why that loss was disappointing. I could theoretically, I would like to say Tony Elliott's got to get some love here. The Virginia Cavaliers have lost one game. It was on the road at NC State by 4. Same NC State team that just ended Georgia Tech's unbeaten streak. They beat Florida State. They beat Louisville, who beat Miami. They beat Washington State. They beat everybody else they've played. They've hammered most everybody else they played, with the exception of the North Carolina game, which was way closer than you'd like. But no problem with them there. By the way, do you think somebody put this in my brain yesterday? And I thought it was an interesting thought. If Dabo and Clemson separate, is Tony Elliott the first call that you make? I think he is, right? I think he is. I think if Dabo separates from Clemson, whether it's Dabo's decision or Clemson's, I think Tony Elliott's the first call I make. Hey, brother, you figured it out there in Virginia. Nice job. Why don't you come home?
Nope.
I think it's a good call.
There's an obvious choice here. It's Rich Rodriguez.
No, is Rich Rod still employed? I know he was. He hadn't gotten fired yet, has he? I don't think he has. I think he's still gainfully employed for the second time at the University of West Virginia. I think he's still there. Anyway, tells you where West Virginia is right now. I think Tony Ellis the call. Anyway, point of all that is, I don't think that there's going to be any surprises tonight. I think you're probably going to see the top 12 lined up pretty similar to where it is now. Here's part of my reason why. The AFCA coaches poll, which, I really wish I could tell you that I have more faith in the coaches poll than I do the AP top 25, but I don't. And I'll tell you why I don't. Because I know for a fact that a number of high-level coaches everywhere, but I know a number of high-level coaches, they don't actually submit their votes. They basically have a staffer do their votes for them, and then they just sign it, right? They're just like, get it close, don't make me look like an idiot. I'll sign it and send it in. It's not, I don't look at the coaches poll. I know there are a lot of coaches in the AFCA that do take this seriously and vote with integrity and no ball, whatever. But at the same time, if I don't believe that the guys on the college football playoff committee are watching 300 games, I can't believe that head coaches actively coaching are taking time to watch 300 other games. If I've got time to sit down and watch somebody else's game, I've got time to sit down and watch film, right? So I don't put a lot of stock in that being a whole hell of a lot different from the AP poll. In the top 12, they have one different. And the only spot that the coaches poll is different from the AP top 25 is that in the top 25, Oklahoma is 11, Virginia's 12. And in the coaches poll, Virginia's 11, Oklahoma's 12. They are identical down to number 13. Both of them have Texas in that spot. That's where they get a little bit different, a little bit wonky. After that, AP, Vanderbilt, or Louisville is 14, Georgia Tech is 14 in the coaches. Vandy is 15 in the AP. Louisville is 15 in the coaches. Georgia Tech is 16 in the AP, 14 in the coaches. And Vanderbilt is 16 in the AP. So, again, all the way down to 17, your only differences are Virginia, Oklahoma swapped at 11 and 12. And Louisville, Vanderbilt, and Virginia Tech are in different spots at 14, 15, and 16. Outside of that, they're exactly the same. Now, it gets a little wonkier down after that. You got, AP, Utah 17, coaches, it's 19. Miami is 18 in both. Mizzou is 19 in the AP, and they are 17 in the coaches poll, right? They're not. This is why I say on one hand, I want to be very excited about tonight when the first college football playoff poll comes off. On the other hand, I'm not, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises. I think that the AP poll is going to be the foundation for the first playoff poll. Again, like, maybe this is just me, and maybe this is me being a cynical, jaded turd, but I don't think that the voters for the college football playoff committee, I suspect they watch a lot more football than a lot of the AP voters, but I don't think it's like going to be so much that they have a dramatically more intimate knowledge of the game, right? Like, I consider myself somebody who watches a lot of college football, and I consider myself somebody who, if they called me tomorrow and said, we want to make you an AP poll voter, I'd say yes. There's a lot of polls I would not say yes to. There's a lot of places I'd be like, I don't feel like I'm qualified. I feel like I'm qualified to be an AP voter, especially if Cokie Riley is. Cokie Riley's able to vote. I'm able to vote for sure. But I consider myself somebody who watches a lot of college football. And I will tell you that I don't have a huge problem with the poll as it is, but that's also because it's week 11 now? Like, early in the season, but the early in the season impacts where we are now. I think it's settled itself out. And I think because of that, you're not going to see a lot of surprises tonight. So, long story short, like, we will talk about the playoff bracket. Well, we'll talk about the playoff poll tomorrow, and we'll look at what a potential bracket would look like. Remember, straight seeding this year. 5 highest ranked conference champions, but they will be seeded 1 through 12. Top 4 teams get a bye, whether you're a conference champion or not. If you are a conference champion outside of the top 12, any conference champion seated outside the top 12 will be seated in the last slot. So, like, if the last 2 conference champions are ranked 13 and 15, number 13 would become the 11th seed, number 15 would become the 12th seed, and the teams at 11 and 12 will be booted from the playoffs to make space for them. So that, like, it's interesting only to me. Tonight is not interesting from the perspective of, are they going to shock us? Are we going to see, ladies and gentlemen, the first seed is Ohio State, number 2, Georgia? No, we're not going to see that. The only thing that is going to be interesting tonight for me is going to be that we'll be able to build a bracket and be like, okay, if the season ended today, this is the bracket. Who's got an easy path? Who needs to win so that they don't get Oregoned like last year and get set up with, despite being consensus number 1, the hardest path to get to the national championship game? Who's going to look and go, oh, if it shapes out this way, we're in a lot of trouble?
Well, I thought Ohio State had the hardest path to the national championship last year.
I do not,
because they were not a number 1 seed, so they had to go up against all the higher seeds.
That was first for the record. That is the reason that we're doing straight seeding this year. Honestly, Oregon and Ohio State are the reason we're doing the seeding. And in fairness, Ohio State, Oregon was Oregon's first game. Had they won that game, they would have gotten Texas next, who was a wagon last year. And had they won that game, which Ohio State did.
I don't know why you're defending Oregon for. Oregon was a higher ranked team, and they lost.
Because you got Tennessee. Here's why. And I'm not saying you have to agree with this. Because you got you got Tennessee, who was a good team, but, like, I don't know anybody that picked Tennessee as a dark horse even. You got Oregon in the second round, but you got Oregon coming off the bye, which to me, playing a team coming off the bye can be beneficial, especially when that team is timing and rhythm and precision based, which Oregon was.
All the teams with byes lost last year, if I recall.
Yeah, who were they? They were Arizona State got a bye, they lost. Oregon got a bye, they lost. Georgia got the bye, they lost, and Boise State. Boise State's the other reason we're doing straight seeding this year, because Boise State caught the bye, and Boise State got hammered by Penn State in their first game. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, we'll talk more about this. Like I said, the only interesting thing about tonight is going to be that we're going to be able to build a bracket. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. We got a lot more I want to get to, a little bit of sound I want to play for you, and more as we hit the final hour of the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Now, sit back, relax, enjoy yourself for the next 60 seconds as Lonzo pleasures your ears with this Sports Flash.
Never gets old. The Arizona Cardinals knocked off the Dallas. It just makes me feel weird. Off the Dallas Cowboys last night, 27-17. Jacoby Brissett started in a place of the injured Kyler Murray, going 21 of 31 for 261 yards and a yards and a pair of touchdowns. Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott completed 24 of his 39 attempts for 250 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. The Atlanta Braves have promoted bench coach Walt Weiss to the role of manager, replacing the retired Brian Schnicker. Weiss was the manager for the Rockies from 2013 to 2016, going 283 and 365, and never finishing above third place in that division. Way to go, Atlanta. Alabama defensive back Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. has been suspended from the team following an arrest for reckless endangerment and attempting to elude arrest over the weekend. Kirkpatrick, son of former Alabama DB and NFL veteran Drake Kirkpatrick Sr., had 8 tackles. Fire me. My first 2 were flawless. I just ruined the one where the boss is actually listening. I mean, you know, if I pass out, Steven, what would you think? So there. No, what got me is my brain does not want to function. I'm smart enough. I'm good enough. I can be flawless. I've done it before. I'm playing hurt, and not an excuse, it's a reason. And I've thought I was in recovery, but I think I'm fading right now. So, you know. I'm not here tomorrow. It's all your fault, Steven. By the way, I hate it when I mess up. You guys deserve flawless, and I didn't give it to you. So, you know, I fell short. And, you know, falling short is something that I'm not used to because I'm over 6 foot tall. So, I mean, there's just, you know, it's just a thing.
Alonzo falls, he falls long.
That's proven time and time again that they're your first choice for your kitchen and bath remodeling.
I also right now presently feel like there's something crawling in and out of my ears, which is very distracting. Because I know it's all sinuses because it's all in it, but maybe there is something crawling. I don't, maybe. Earwigs are a real thing, right? I've seen videos where like spiders like lay eggs in people's ears and noses and stuff.
You ever see the one where the lady had a spider crawl in and they had to like...
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Like, I'm not grossed out by spiders, but I'd lose my mind.
Well, maybe literally if it got in there enough. I don't know. I mean, how far could a spider actually go if it... Probably depends on what kind of spider it is.
It goes deep. I guess it depends on Vegas.
Get one of them there tarantulas up in your ear. I think it's ear hair, but it's actually a leg that's coming out. It's just,
All right. Quick aside. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but I do have to laugh because I told the story earlier in the day. Last night, the wifey, who is upped her football watching game since she met me, you're welcome. We were at the crib last night. We had a good day on Sunday, had a very long day. However, it was a very long day. So we decided last night, let's just chill. She was going to stay home, make some chili because her job has a chili cook-off today. So she made herself some white chicken chili to bring to the office. I was doing some work, getting ready for the show today, whatever. And at 8 o'clock, she said, hey, babe, go ahead and put it on Monday Night Football. And I said, A, that's a very sexy thing that you just said to me. Yes, ma'am. And B, yes, ma'am. So I turned on our YouTube TV only to instantly be reminded that ABC is not currently, nor is ESPN, on YouTube TV. Now, I would never have the audacity. But if theoretically I wanted to watch that Monday Night Football game with my wife, what it would have required of me, obviously, and again, I would never, would be to go online to find a illegal pirate streaming site to pirate that game and to cast it from my laptop to my TV. Again, I would never. And if theoretically I was going to watch that game in order to talk about the fact that Jacoby Brissett diced the Cowboys last night, in order to tell you how comically funny I would have found it had I watched, to see Steven and Jerry throwing tantrums in the owner's box, hilariously watching Stephen A. Smith, if I watched it, but I didn't see this, get up, shake their hands, and leave as the game was happening. If I saw all that and found it funny.
There might have been a touch on the shoulder of condolence.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, theoretically, I don't know because I didn't see it. I would never. I didn't do this. But if I did, I may or may not.
I saw it because I have Dish, so I didn't unplug like everybody else.
I did. Had I seen this, which, of course, again,
I guess Dish is unplugged. My bad.
Then it is very possible that I may have told the wife, hey, I'm going to go ahead and cancel our YouTube TV now. And I want you to know, there are still some things we watch on YouTube TV. There are some shows that we watch. The majority, not all, but the majority of my wrestling I watch on YouTube TV. But here's the thing. I can get that other places. The cancellation of YouTube TV was primarily on principle. It was primarily along the lines of, you know what? If the billions and billions of the Rob's dollars that you get just aren't enough, then I'm going to keep my X amount of money. I have had ESPN Plus for a number of years now. I have had ESPN Plus primarily because I can watch Greenville Triumph games on ESPN Plus. If I can't make it out to Paladin Stadium, if they're on the road, I can watch the Triumph play. As much as I feel like an awful fan, and I genuinely hope this does not hurt the Triumph in the long run, but I cancel my ESPN Plus. I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. Because now I'm at a point where if I want to watch ESPN games, I got to pay them another $30 whatever it is a month. Oh, and by the way, you got to have YouTube TV to watch Fox and the Big Ten games. Oh, and by the way, you got to pay extra for the ACC and the SEC network to be able to watch whatever games are on those if you want to watch those. And as somebody who needs to watch all the games, I would have to. So again, if I was going to, I would never. I'd stream everything. I'd go pirate everything, which is, again, sorry to you companies, I don't care. Very easy to do. Take like 10 minutes of Googling. You'll find some spots. Remember earlier this year, the website, Stream East went down. Stream East was the largest sports streaming site out there. I would never, but you could go to Stream East and they had pretty much everything. You could watch just about any sporting event taking place on the planet on there. And it got shut down. It was being run out of Egypt. And the feds got to it and they shut it down. Do you know what happened? It was back up in like 3 days. Somebody else picked it up and ran with it. Like 3 days later, it was back up and running. So I just don't get it. And the reason I bring this up a second time is not because I want to necessarily hinge on this and like make it a thing. In fact, I plan on saying this and then I will get away from it. But during the break, I was scrolling around Reddit. And the reason I was scrolling around Reddit is because as a news conglomeration site, I have my Reddit account set up to where it's pretty much exclusively sports. And I like Reddit because it is a good mix of here's the news, it's fast, it's breaking, here is what happened, but it also is an open conversation forum. And depending on the subreddit you're in, there are up to millions of people who can chime in with their thoughts. And while most of it is insane, some people pop up stuff that I go, oh, damn, I didn't think about that. That's a good call. So I'm scrolling Reddit and I come across an advertisement. And there's this new thing that happens on Reddit, and this I don't love. It is, once again, the bleepification of technology. Reddit recognized a number of years ago that people don't want to be advertised to on this website. Like, we want to go, it used to be, you just went to Reddit. Like, there was no advertisements. You just went there, read your news, got engaged in conversation, whatever. And they had to start advertising on it. And nobody was interacting with it. And so a couple of years ago, what Reddit started to do was putting advertisements up in the same style and format as comments in the running thread. So as you're scrolling through the thread of commentary, there will be one that comes up and it'll say something that catches your attention. It's not a comment. It's an advertisement made in the style of a comment, because when you scroll through Reddit, they're tree style. So like there's one parent comment, and then as people reply to it, it branches down. So the next reply goes under it and shifted over to the right. And if anybody replies to that, it goes shifted to the right. But the next person who replies to the OG comment, it drops down below those two and is next up paragraph style, right? So they just start making them look like comments, because as you go through, if you're done with the comment thread, you click on the original comment and it folds all of the comments attached to that into one little bar, and it brings the next comment thread up. So if you're going through and you're clicking on these to minimize the comments to work your way all the way down, some of them are advertisements that look like a way to get you to to get you to click on them thinking you're collapsing a comment, but it brings you to an external website. And what does Reddit get? Hey, company X, somebody clicked on your ad. Pay us for that, because that's how that works. So it's that, like, even that, which used to be the last bastion and refuge of goodness on the internet for me, even that is ruined to some degree now, because now I have to triple check every comment to make sure I'm not accidentally clicking an ad. Anyway, I'm scrolling Reddit because it is like, even though it's gone to crap, it's still the last best place for this type of engagement on the internet. And I came across a comment that said, YouTube TV customers should do like I did. Get the sports you love from ESPN back. Go to keepmynetworks.com and sign. And I was like, what is this? And then I looked. It's an advertisement from ESPN. ESPN is running an advertisement on Reddit that is trying to encourage people, and dare I say, trick them into clicking on a link, sending them to keepmynetworks.com, which is a page ESPN has boosted up to get people to come over and read their propaganda about how this is all YouTube TV's fault. It's not theirs. It's all YouTube TV's, except it's not. See, because ESPN, when they propped up their new streaming service, ESPN, what is it called now? It's not Plus anymore, right? Is it still? It's not Plus. ESPN, whatever.
It's not. I have it. I went ahead and paid for it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. You get a lot more stuff, and
unlimited.
Yeah, and all the PLEs are getting ready to go there for wrestling.
Yeah.
So
$29.99 a month, $299.99 or $299.99 a year. Includes, quote, all ESPN networks, ESPN Select, which costs $11.99 a month. If you and is similar to the old ESPN Plus with just exclusive comment. Service offers features of live events, on-demand content, studio shows, and a bundled option with Disney Plus and Hulu. So what happened here is ESPN propped up their new streaming service for $29.99 a month, and they want you to pay for it. By keeping it on YouTube, in order to make up the difference for somebody like me who, would I have eventually moved over and signed up for it? Yeah. But the reality is, for $30 a month, I got to figure out what I'm going to go cut from somewhere else, right? Like, what am I going to cut from somewhere else? Where am I going to take $30 from to move it over here? And for the record, I'll find something. Honestly, right now, probably Netflix. Like, Netflix has basically been documentaries for the wife and I, but like, there's documentaries on Hulu, on Disney Plus. There's plenty of documentaries. I could take it from there. I could package it up, kind of put it in, add it to the Disney Plus, whatever. It's I don't know if it's like it's a principal. Scratch that. It is exactly a principal thing for me. They basically went to YouTube, said, hey, in order to make up the money that we're not going to get from people who won't sign up for ESPN Select because we have the ESPN channels on YouTube, we are going to charge you X dollars more per subscriber to carry our stuff. And in order to make up that money, YouTube's like, okay, well, then we're just going to charge that to the subscribers. But ESPN asked for such an exorbitant amount that YouTube TV was like, no, we're not doing that. That's not going to happen. And it leads us to where we are. The fact that we live in this world where there's 90 different companies and all of them have their exclusive stuff. This was one of the problems that I had from the beginning. I understand that college football is a business, and I understand at the end of the day that if anything in this country of unchecked capitalism, if there is anything that is money related, it is going to end up in the hands of somebody who is going to milk it for every freaking penny that is in it and not give a damn about the product that is delivered to the consumer. And there will get to a point where, and it happens all the time, you've seen it. It's called venture capitalism. Somebody buys a thing, they milk it for every dollar, then they break it up, they sell it for spare parts, and then they move on to the next thing. And they do not care if that thing was a staple of your life. I saw it happen to a local restaurant in Fort Walton where a venture capital company came in, they bought the restaurant, they ran it for a little while, then they eventually started downgrading the recipes, downgrading the ingredients. The food sucked. The restaurant stopped having customers. Then they broke it up and they just sold all the restaurant appliances and cookware and all that, made a profit, and then they were just gone from the town. And what happened? A town that grew up on this restaurant in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, a town that grew up and loved this restaurant, they got left with no restaurant and no profit from it. They got left with no restaurant and a major economic driver, as it was one of Fort Walton Beach's favorite restaurants to go to. It generated a lot of money because a lot of people, including myself, went there. We'd go there multiple times a week to eat. It closed down. A bunch of people from out of town stripped it, sold it for sale parts, took all the money from it, and left town. And the town was left behind with an empty building with nothing in it and a loss of its favorite restaurant because the people who bought it did not give a damn about the restaurant or the community. They cared very simply about how many dollars can we squeeze out of this thing? How much can we make on our original investment? We're going to get every dollar we can, and then we are GTFOing this town. That's what's happening with your sports on broadcast right now. That's what's happening with your sports on broadcast right now. And the response that I am getting is ESPN going on social media sites and spending however much money this costs. And I promise you it's not cheap. However much money they're costing, that they are paying to try to gaslight us, the customer, into getting mad at YouTubeTV, as if it's YouTubeTV making the decision. Don't get me wrong, they're in on it because they want as much money as they can get too. But they realize because there is a saturation point. There's a saturation point where you will start to see, and you know, I know Disney Plus is toying with this right now. I got an email like 3 weeks ago that said my Disney Plus plan, and I like Disney Plus. It's got Star Wars, it's got Marvel, it's got National Geographic, and I'm a big dork. I like Disney Plus, but it went from $15.99 to $18.99 a month. Now, $3 didn't chase me off. But you know what will? If they bump it up next month to $21.99 a month, then I'm going to have to go, I got to tell you, I'm out. I'm out. Because I watch it a few times a month, but it's not like, you know, I probably watch it to the tune of like $2 every time I tune in to watch a program on Disney Plus. That may not be worth it. So it sucks for all of us that you've got effectively 3 multi-billion-dollar companies, ESPN, Disney, ABC, YouTubeTV, and Google running the whole thing that they don't care what this does for us. They're going to hit a saturation point, I think, at some point where they go, okay, we've lost too many customers for this to be beneficial, but they don't care what this does to us. And it's just, man, it's frustrating. Dare I say, it is infuriating. And it's just very disappointing. Steven said, sorry for the loss of Hooters in Fort Walton. Here, you know what, Steven? I know you're being a smartass, and I respect the smartassery. Nice job. Here's the thing. That is exactly what happened to Hooters. That's not a joke. That is what happened to Hooters. Hooters got big because they had a group of owners.
So he figured it out?
No, it's not the Hooters I'm talking about. Mine was like a truly local Italian restaurant, if you want to know the place. Truly local Italian joint. But that is what happened to Hooters. Hooters was, it had grown itself from a local company, I believe in South Florida, into a national and then eventually international brand with a group of guys who started it. And then one day they sold it out to a private equity company. And that private equity company took it over. And then one day, do you know what they said? They said, we can increase profit if we drop the quality of food. If we just drop the quality of food a little bit, then we can take the difference, that little bit of difference in spare change from every wing, and that's now profit. And they killed the quality of wing. That's what I've said for years. Hooters for a very long time had the best wings in the game. That's not exaggeration. I've told people before, you know what I did this when I hosted the Hooters Sports Show with Rob Brown. I was on remote 2 or 3 nights a week at different Hooters around the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama. I would drive from my house in Destin, Florida. I'd go do shows in Mobile, Alabama, Panama City Beach, Florida, everywhere in between. And one of the days a week, I talked to the owner of all the Hooters in that region, a guy by the name of Stu Houston, wonderful dude. And I said, Stu, one day a week, you know what I want to do? I want you to have all the girls come in like khakis and sweaters, like fully covered up. Because what I want is for fellas to be able to bring their families in and convince them, like, dude, seriously, the wings are really good here. Like, the food's good. And then when I was doing that show, the decline started. The quality sucked. The wings got smaller. The breading got thinner. It wasn't a season. You could taste the difference. And it went downhill. And eventually, the people who did that got as much juice out of it as they could, and then they just stopped caring about it. So now the OG owners are trying to buy Hooters back from that group so they can restore it to what it used to be. And I hope they do. I'd love to have a reason to go back to Hooters. I'm not too big to admit it. I'd love to go back to Hooters because the wings are delicious. I haven't been in years because the wings suck now, with all due respect to Hooters. It's a joke, but like, that's what's happening. What's happening is the broadcasting version of our sports being Hootersified. You've got a bunch of people who are trying to squeeze out every dime that they can get, and they do not care how it impacts you. And eventually, they'll get every dime they can get out of it, and then it just kind of like, they'll just let it be what it is off to the side. And whatever that final product looks like, that's what we're stuck with. It was, again, I think, in fact, I don't think, last night, J.J. Watt, who is an on-air broadcaster for the NFL. I don't know if he's going to get in trouble for this or not. But J.J. Watt, who is an on-air broadcaster for the National Football League, said on Twitter, in fact, I want to go find and read the tweet for you verbatim, because I do not want to be accused of misattributing what J.J. Watt had to say for the sake of my own argument here. J.J. Watt put on Twitter last night, quote, "So we're just not watching Monday Night Football, huh? I'm not buying another streaming subscription. The crazy part is I have some sort of subscription because I watch Espanol matches on ESPN+, but I can't watch Monday Night Football. I don't understand it, and quite frankly, just don't really care to figure it out right now. It's just frustrating, all of it." Yeah, it's that, man. Like, that's exactly what it is. And I got to tell you, like, I will be going to, before Saturday, I'll be going to the store and getting an over-the-air antenna that will attach from the back of the 75-inch, run along the wall, and be plastered to the window of my bro cave so I can watch the local network channels, the OTA channels locally, and past that. I'm not saying that I know some illegal streaming websites and I'm going to be watching all of them there. I'm just saying that it would make sense if I did. Wink. Because that's where we are, man. And Saturday, when I was starting the show from noon to 4, and I turned on my TV going, all right, Clemson, Duke, this could be a big one. And then made the realization that I don't get to watch Clemson, Duke. I don't get to watch it because I'm not going to illegally stream it. Anyway, breakdown of Clemson, Duke was available yesterday on the show. Not because I watched it, just because, somebody told me about it. That's all, and nothing else.
I watched it. I told him all about it.
Yeah, Alonzo watched it because he's got Dish. Stick around. We got a lot more to get to. Maybe get back to the Braves, MLB postseason awards, a little bit of NASCAR. When I come back, Alonzo, I saw yesterday, it happened on Sunday, the greatest wingman move I think I've ever seen in history, and it is directly sports related, so I can talk about it. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
That reminds me of the cleaver. Let me remember.
Cleaver?
Yeah. Let me ask you about this when I come back. Something that happened Saturday.
Stay right there, guys. I gotta get our interview for tomorrow set up. Be right back. When Rob Brown was a young man, more formidable back in the day, Rob Brown was I was a friend.
I thought you were going to say player. But
no, I wish I was a player. That would have been a lot more fun. Rob Brown was the dude in the fraternity that the girls in the sorority called to like set up an event because I was like the least threatening dude they knew. All right. Like, it's just what I was. I still am.
Did you actually go to their house to set it up?
Yeah. I mean, that's how much they trusted me. Like,
okay,
I was the one bro. They'd be like, yeah, why don't you come to the sorority house? Because we know you're literally not going to do anything.
Wow.
And they were right.
Wow.
They were right.
Do you want to have that reputation?
Yeah. As a respectful gentleman. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Okay. So
no, I meant then. Did you want to have that?
Yeah, I was fine with it. Like,
okay.
It didn't bother me. And like in retrospect, I know it's one of those things that now I look back and I'm like, oh, Robbie B, you missed a lot of opportunities. Like a lot of opportunities, dude. But at the same time, like, I'm proud of how it turned out, so I'm good with it. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. One of the things that Rob Brown became exceptional at was being a wingman. Rob Brown was a great wingman because I have the aura of completely not threatening. And so if bro could come to me and be like, hey, I want to go talk to that girl, but she's got a friend, so I'm going to go open the conversation, then I'm going to call you over, and I want you to be a distraction, I could pull that off, non-threatening. Or, and this happened quite a bit, the opposite way around. If a lady came to me and she was like, hey, I want to talk to that guy over there, but I don't really know how to approach him, I'd be like, oh, I got you, dog. And I'd be like, hey, guy, my friend over here wants to talk to you. Wingman for anybody, everybody. I was an equal opportunity wingman. Well, NASCAR had a race on Sunday. It was a championship race. And before the race begins, all the drivers assemble around pit road in kind of a big room in the background. It's like a VIP room, right? And so if the green flag dropper, the start your engines, or all the celebrities that come to races, they're all in this room, and it's their chance to like meet the drivers and shake hands and get pictures and see the cars up close and yada, yada, yada. So a video has emerged of Austin Dillon and William Byron. Now these are younger fellas. Also in the video is someone who is a regular contributor to the segment that ends the show every day called What the X is Going On. The adorable, and I think it is fair to say, attractive Sydney Sweeney. Kind of America's sweetheart right now.
I've heard of her.
Yeah. Sydney Sweeney, because she is promoting a movie, and it is a sports movie right now, was at the race. And Sydney Sweeney was in like race gear. She had like the leather race jacket on, leather pants, the really cool, like Jeff Gordon probably owns the same sunglasses. All right. She looked good. Well, as the drivers are making their way down into the VIP area where all the celebrities, including Sydney Sweeney, are, Austin Dillon walks over and grabs William Byron. Now, these cats are both in their mid-20s. They're younger fellas. They're in the, spitting game age, so to speak. Austin Dillon goes and grabs William Byron, and he's like, yo, come here. He leans over a rail post where the stairs are. William Byron's walking up the stairs to leave the room. Austin Dillon walks over, and he's like, yo, come here. He reaches over, he grabs him by the arm, and he's like, come here. And William Byron's like, why? And he's like, just come with me.
She had nice boots, by the way.
It's a good race day outfit, right? Like, if you're fashionable, it's a great race day outfit. Austin Dillon grabs William Byron over a post. He brings him out into the room, clearly doesn't tell him what they're going to do. He walks him across the room and straight up introduces him to Sydney Sweeney. Now, that in and of itself, wonderful bro move. Wonderful bro move. But then he says, loudly enough that a camera about 15 feet away in a room crowded full of people could hear, he says to William Byron and Sydney Sweeney, hey, Austin, Sydney, Austin, I wanted to introduce you guys because y'all could be the next Travis and Taylor. And then he just leaves the scene. He just 180 gone. And I looked and I went, that is Class A, 5-star, no notes wingmanning from Austin Dillon. My man said, I'm not going to say, hey, come over here and meet Sydney Sweeney, because keep it a buck. Even if you're Austin Dillon, confidence might be a little shaky. If you say, hey, I'm going to bring you over here to meet one of the most beautiful actresses on the face of the planet and America's current darling. Even for a guy like an Austin Dillon, who is it's NASCAR, like it's a niche sport. But as far as the niche sport goes, like he was the biggest celebrity in that room wearing a tracksuit, or at least one of them. William Byron. So Dillon grabs William Byron, brings him over. Zero, like, hey man, I'm gonna bring you to it. He just brings it and says, here you go. Introduces him, and as they're shaking hands, he says, you guys could be the next Travis and Taylor, and Boot scoots up out of the way, which leaves the door open for William to be like, could you imagine it? Or whatever he's going to say. Don't say that, William. Don't say that. But the point is, my man with the A+ 5-star no notes wingmanning there to set up the intro, do it in a way that William Byron didn't have time to think and get nervous, right? The worst part about approaching an attractive gentleman or lady when you're out at the club, out at the bar, out at whatever, the worst part is the walk up in the approach. And it's not because, for a lot of you, it's not because of the fear of rejection. It's because you so overthink it that by the time you get up to him, you got 50,000 thoughts about what you're going to say, and you stumble all over it. He didn't have time to think. He was just like, yo, Sydney Sweeney, William Byron, Sydney Sweeney, y'all could be Travis and Taylor, goodbye. And as they shake hands, he splits, dog, Gonzo out of the picture. It's just the two of them chatting now, which is great, except for the second half of the video. Because in this moment, William Byron, who as far as I am aware, is a single man. Well, from online points out that Byron used to date Ryan Blaney's sister. And I do know that is true. I think he talked about it on Danny Hamlin's podcast at one point, if I recall. One of the podcasts. Anyway, amicable split from what I understand. Anyway, William Byron, who I understand is a single man at just 27 years of age. And I believe Sydney Sweeney is in that same age range, though I don't know off the top of my head. We can find out. Although I don't want to have Sydney Sweeney age in my Google history.
If you just Google her, that thing pops up on the side. So
she's 28. She's actually older than him. So the first part of this video, absolutely immaculate. A phenomenal effort from Austin Dillon. Grab, no time to think. I'm not going to tell you where I'm taking you. I'm just going to throw you into the fire. You don't have time to trip over 50 different thoughts. I'm putting you, and you just got to go with the first thought that comes to your head when you were introduced to one of the most attractive women on earth and one of the most famous people on earth. And then, and this is my favorite part, he introduces William Byron to Sydney Sweeney. And as he does so, William Byron cordially reaches out and he shakes Sydney Sweeney's hand. Then he just turns around and walks away. Just out the
I'm looking at a picture of the handshake, and she looks cute, and he looks so redneck with the way his mouth is. Listen, I gotta say,
or
like, oh, he's so nice to meet you.
If Rob, okay, that's
you should see this. No, you should see the picture.
It doesn't matter. That's a stereotype, and I won't stand for it. That's why NASCAR can't grow, because of that.
I don't care if you stand for it or not. That's what that picture says to me.
I am watching that. I've watched the video.
And there's a guy in the background who looks like one of them past gas. So I'm just saying.
So William Byron gets the handshake with Sydney Sweeney. And I'm going to say so far, like, again, Rob Brown, non-threatening gentleman, always has been. However, Rob Brown is a big fan of the study of body language. And I think it's important. You have to be able to read people. And it's not just what they say to you, it's how they say it to you. And it's not just how they say it to you, it's how they're acting when they say it to you. Because your body can tell the truth when you are lying. I've always believed in that. My old man taught me that.
I just sent you the picture, by the way.
So Sydney Sweeney, as she is introduced to and shakes the hand of William Byron, she does something that if you're a creeper or somebody who studies body language, and it's amazing how often those two things intercede. I'm just the second, not a creeper. She does a thing that is universally a sign of, I enjoy this interaction, which is as she's shaking hands, she cocks her head to the side a little bit and kind of closes her shoulders down and smiles at him. That is the universal, like, haha, this is cute, right? So the door's open. William Byron gets the introduction, shakes the hand, and then he just turns and walks away. And then the second half of the video. Now, this part you can't hear what is said, but as he walks away, Austin Dillon turns around, sees William Byron has engaged, shaken the hand, and then walked away from Sydney Sweeney. He turns around and he grabs William by the shoulder. And what I can only imagine is an immediate moment of, dude, what the? Okay, I played the beat, but it's not playing. I don't know why.
Yeah, you'll have to mess with it after the show.
Yeah, dadgummit. Anyway, it turns around and what grabs the shoulder in what is very clearly and obviously a moment of what the bleep are you doing right now? And William just like keeps walking. You can tell Austin's like, bro, she right there. She's just right there. And she was open to talking. He's just right there. And William's like on a mission to get the hell up out of the room. And Austin turns around. And again, I don't know what it is, but he turns around as William Byron's kind of like walking past him to get out of the room and out of the area. He turns around and like yells something back. And I would love to imagine that he's yelling at Sydney Sweeney. I'm sorry, my friend's a wuss, dude. My bad. I'm sorry. That is not just the ultimate bro move from Austin Dillon. Just 5 stars, round of applause, and a Rob Brown show commendation for that moment from Austin Dillon. That is ultimate bro trail from William Byron. Just a stab in the back. That man set you up with a conversation that she was willing to have, open and engaged with you, smiling, cocking the head, closing the shoulders, the cute little giggles, flirty laugh. And my man just turned and walked away with a handshake and was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to chat up Sydney Sweeney. Like, I'm going to go ahead and say, even if Sydney Sweeney's not your type, Sydney Sweeney's your type. Like, even if she's not your type, that's your type. At least for that day, for that moment, for that conversation, she's your type. I would love to think that Austin Dillon turned around and was like, Sydney, I'm so sorry, my friend's a loser. And I would like to imagine that the reason William Byron got knocked out of the race is because at some point around lap 312 of 319, Austin Dillon was like, you son of a... and just popped his tire. Just hit him with the front end, popped the tire, and you lose the championship because of that moment. The ultimate bro move from Austin Dillon and the ultimate bro trail from William Byron. You deserve better, Austin, after that move. That is an absolute brilliant move. Come on, dog. Come on. Let's take a break back after this. Wrapping it up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I mean, look at that picture and tell me I'm wrong about what I said.
You tweeter it to me?
I'll put it on Twitter, yeah.
Where's my tweeter? There it is. Oh, crap. I'm supposed to be going to Charlotte Sunday. I forgot to have tickets to that. Nah, I mean, his mouth is in
look, come on. How you doing, Miss Sweeney?
I see it now.
Look at the guy behind him. One of them passed gas. I'm telling you. I'm going with William Byron right there. That's why he got away really quick. He got nervous, passed some gas. The dude behind it, he's smelling it, and he's embarrassed, and he had to leave. That's what happened. That's what I'm going with. My friends used to do that crap to me when I was in high school, like send a rose or a poem in the newspaper to the prettiest girl in the whole school from me.
I mean, yeah, but like in the off chance that it works, that's an all-time bro move.
It did once, but my shyness got in the way. I just couldn't do it.
That's why they did it.
Yeah.
That's why they did it. They were giving you a chance, and it was on you if you wasted it or not. I get it. Like the first, golly, probably 2 or 3 of my long-term girlfriends, I did not talk to first. I got introduced to or put in the same spot or whatever. I appreciate that, Fonzie. 202 this morning. I was actually at 199 for about 22 minutes.
Wow, 22 minutes.
Yeah, because I got to 199 and I was like, hell yeah, did it in Wonderland. Let's go. And then got a sausage biscuit on the way to work. And the sausage biscuit doesn't weigh a pound, but I feel like at this point I am just convinced that
It's the biscuit.
my
It's
body
not-
can take
yeah.
16 ounces of food and turn it into 3 pounds of weight for no good reason. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Wrapping up the radio program today. Couple of things that I want to get to very quickly that either we spent a little bit of time on but could do some more, or maybe don't necessarily need a whole lot of time. I think I'm done with Ja Morant. I really thought for a while that Ja Morant was going to be the next big thing in the NBA. When Ja Morant got going, the dude is obviously wildly, wildly talented. I just don't understand the thought processes of Ja Morant over the years. You've had multiple instances with guns. I don't know how after instant number 1 with a gun, you do it again when you know what's on the line. I don't get that. You're a kid who, and I say this like this is said to guys like Ja Morant as an insult. It's not meant to be like you didn't come from that, right? I'm not saying that you have to come from one type of background and that's just who you and what you are forever. But like, my guy, you're putting millions and millions of dollars at risk. Why? For a stupid image, for an irrelevant image. Do you understand that the absolute best thing in the world for you would be to just be the best basketball player in the world, which I think you have the talent to do. So if you missed the story that took place earlier this week, Ja Morant got suspended by the Memphis Grizzlies for 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team. Now, we don't know if there was more to it, but what we know is that Ja Morant was asked earlier in the week about his play style and his play time. And he said, in a roundabout way, ask the coaches. But it wasn't ask the coaches in the style of like, because I don't know the answer. It was ask the coaches more along the lines of like, yo, bleep the coaches, man. They're screwing me up here. They're the ones that are doing that. They're the ones that are making this whole thing a problem for me. So I don't know if there was more to it or not. Frankly, I don't care, nor does it matter to me. But what I do know, I fixed it. What I do know is that Ja Morant took the 1 game suspension. And then Ja Morant, after the 1 game suspension made the return, was asked about the organization's statement and their belief, their feelings when the statement was made and the suspension was announced. And he said, y'all asked that question to them, huh? Y'all know the answer to that. Effectively saying, we're not in a good place right now. Like me and the Grizz, we're not in a good place. And I will acknowledge that, like, more often than not, y'all know I take a player side in a head-to-head debate with a franchise. More often than not, I'm going to take the player side. Because more often than not, it is the player fighting back against what I believe to be, in most of these leagues, unchecked power to some degree by the owners and by the teams. So I'll take the player side. I can't here because this has just been the legacy. This has just been what the kid's done since he got there, and it's a problem. Ja Morant was asked after the suspension if he has his, quote, usual joy playing basketball, end quote. And his answer was, and I quote, no. And that was it. He was done. He was out of that. Like he didn't want any of that after that. Morant threw a few more go ask the coaching staffs throughout his answer. And at one point, he was asked what the team could do differently. And he said, quote, according to them, probably don't play me, honestly. That's what basically the message was after. It's cool. So it's obviously very not cool. And again, I don't disagree that there's probably some level of ineptitude from the Memphis Grizzlies. But I'm kind of looking back now at when they fired their last head coach, Taylor Jenkins. The reason that was given and suspected that he was fired was the locker room blew up. But I got to tell you, the more I'm watching this, the more I'm like, golly, I think it may have been Ja Morant that blew the locker room up. I think it may have been Ja Morant. That's a problem. Like, that's not ideal. So I got to tell you, like, I am really shocked. I am really shocked to see this play out because I think Ja Morant, if the dude would have just, like, I'm not a shut up and dribble guy. Like, have your opinions. Say what you want to say. Do what you want to do. Recognize that there are societal consequences when you decide that you want to speak out. But hey, that's the American way. Speak out. I don't care if you play basketball or if you're a janitor or a politician. You have the right to speak out, and people have the right to treat you and react to you the way that they wish to do so based on what you say and how you act. But man, if you would have just dialed in, locked in, been a great team player and played basketball, Ja Morant, you probably would have been in the cut. Like, I really think he could have been like Iverson levels of talented. I think he could have been Iverson levels of talented. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, not only are you not going to be that way in Memphis, somebody's going to roll the dice on this kid, but like, are you handing him the keys to the car when he shows up? Because you know if you hand him the keys to the car, he's going to take it on a joyride and wave a gun out the window. Like, not ideal. All right, real quick. I said this earlier in the show. Braves have promoted bench coach Walt Weiss to replace Brian Snicker as the skipper of this team. And I am devastated. I am devastated by this move. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Walt Weiss proves me wrong. I would be more than glad to have Walt Weiss on this show if they go on and they make a playoff run that's deep and whatever, to have him on the show to say, Rob Brown, you absolute jackass of a person. I'm right, you're wrong. You. I'd take that phone call. That'd be great. I'd love to have him on the air. I just don't think I'm going to be. Because the problem you had with this team last year, while it was consistently and regularly blamed on injuries and bad luck, which I'm not arguing that injuries weren't a part of it. I don't believe in bad luck. I don't believe in good luck or bad luck. I just don't. Things happen. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I don't believe in luck. I just believe it was bad. And I think a large part of that was because of the reason that Brian Snicker at 70 years old was just unable to communicate with the locker room and get them all on the same page. If you have ever been in a position of leadership, as a manager, as a boss, as a supervisor, as an overseer, whatever, you know that the most important thing you can do as a leader is figure out how the hell to get your team on the same page. Not everybody has to like everybody, but they better be on the same page and working towards the same goal. And the Braves weren't last year, I don't think. So to replace a 70-year-old manager who had zero energy off the bench, so like even if he couldn't communicate with him, in a spot like that, at least you got to give him the energy to attach to, right? Like, here's the energy. Like, even if you don't get where I'm coming from, I don't get where you're coming from, we can't successfully communicate and get on the same page. I want to at least match the energy. What even that? What even that? How many times did I point out? I'm sick and tired of seeing the camera go over to Brian Snicker on the bench and see him yawning like we're missing up nap time. And so to replace that guy, you went with a 61-year-old manager who aesthetically is the exact same guy as Brian Snicker, but has also been a previous manager and who was like nearly 100 games below 500 as a manager, who never checked in above third in the division as a manager, and was so bad as a manager in his time at Colorado that he fired himself from the job before he moved on. And yes, he was there when the Braves won the World Series. And that's great. That's good. That's awesome. Awesome. But that team was different. That team was special. That team was the anomaly. That team was the exception, not the rule. So I don't know how it is that the Braves expect to go from a team that last year was banged up and had bad luck, but really it was all attached to the fact that there was zero leadership from the manager's position, to just hiring the same manager to do it again. Braves fans, strap in now, because next year's going to suck. Non-Braves fans, strap in now, because you thought angry early season Braves fan Rob was bad this year. I'm going to be insufferable next year.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
Could not imagine for 1 second you being insufferable.
No, never. Not once.
Your
in my
sunny
life.
disposition would not allow it.
Never.
All right, the first thing that's Xing is Bronny James.
Did Bronny get in the game last night?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Lakers game last night.
He apparently played pretty well.
I think he's a good player,
you
man.
know who wasn't there? LeBron. You know who else wasn't there?
LeBron James.
Luka wasn't there.
Luka wasn't there either.
You know who else wasn't there?
Who was it else?
Austin Reeves wasn't there. And you know what they did?
Lost by 70.
No, they still won.
Yeah, no, I know. Austin Reeves finished. No, wait. I'm saying Austin Reeves did play.
Okay,
last
I
night.
must have saw.
Yeah,
the
Reeves
wrong
played
thing.
26 points, 11
Oh,
assists.
my bad.
And most importantly, and I'm watching it right now, absolutely filthy lob to Bronny.
All right, that was 2 nights ago.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm seeing this from last night. You're right. That is from Sunday night. Okay, so maybe he didn't play last night. Either way, whatever. I don't think Bronny James is a bad player, man. Like the problem was never Bronny James was a bad player. In fact, I would like to go on the record and say I am relatively sure. Yeah, I'm relatively sure. I think Lonzo and I were the only show that were like, he got picked 55th overall.
Yeah, and for that,
He's not a bad player.
He's doing pretty well for
Yeah.
getting where he was picked.
Yeah, he's not a bad player.
All right, the next thing that is Xing is Matthew McConaughey.
By the way, Lakers won 123-115 over the Blazers last night. Bronny played 19 minutes, 1 of 4, 1 for 2 from the arc, 6 assists in the game, just 5 points. But again, reserve role, it makes sense. Who? Matthew McConaughey? Is that who you said?
Yes.
He's
Matthew
trending because
McConaughey.
he's all right.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I have zero idea.
It's his birthday.
Oh, Matthew McConaughey is, don't tell me, 50.
Oh, he's older than that.
60?
Well, younger than that. He's 56.
55.
He's 56.
56?
Yeah.
You know, I'm obviously not going to be in the realm of the jackiness when I get to that age. But I think I still look young for the 40. When I shaved the other day, I got told a number of times I looked 30. So I think I'm going to have the youthful expression of a Matthew McConaughey, just not the everything else.
I don't know. I get told all the time that I don't look my age and I'm 1 year older than him. Who knows? I mean, people try to be nice. They don't need to be.
I get it. It's like all those people who come up to me and they're like, dude, you look like Bradley Cooper. And I'm like, I know. Thank you.
Yeah, I was there. I've seen that happen.
I was his stunt double in A Star Is Born.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you get to spend some time with Lady Gaga. The next thing that's
I hate how you said that.
Yeah, because I've heard someone else say it. I thought it was hilarious. The next thing that's Xing is Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman Xing because last night I haven't seen it yet, but I know we had a big segment with that one guy and
Your boy.
the Vision. No, not my boy.
Your boy.
A guy that's on that roster
Your boy.
and the Vision where he came out, he saved Punk for the Vision, then but I guess he came back in the ring and then they beat Punk up and said, I'm next for the belt or whatever. I'm good.
That's not exactly what happened. It was close to it. He saved Punk and then he brought out the brass knuckles, act like he was going to use it on other people, and instead he slapped Punk pretty hard. You should look at the slap.
I dislike him as a person. But he can sell.
So probably the first the first addition to the Vision would be Logan Paul, and I think that would be perfect. I think that would be great because I don't think those two guys can carry it on their own right now. Logan Paul would be the focal point, and I forget what I saw it on, but I thought it was pretty funny. I don't care if you guys like it.
Hey, by the way, real quick aside before we move on to the next one, congratulations on Dale Murphy, who was on the 2026 Contemporary Baseball ERA ballot. He's or ERA. Jeez, I'm a baseball guy. Era, contemporary era ballad. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Carlos Delgado, Jeff Kent, Don Mattingly, Gary Sheffield, Fernando Valenzuela, and Dale freaking Murphy on the contemporary baseball era ballot. Congrats to the Big D, man. Well, I love Dale Murphy. I've met Dale Murphy a few times in the past. He is a stellar human being. In fact, I haven't even brought it to the studio because I like it too much. It's in my house. I got a Dale Murphy bobblehead that I got like 20 years ago, and I've carried it around the whole time.
That you interrupted the final thing on what the X for that.
Sydney Sweeney.
No.
Oh, okay.
Because you've already talked Sydney Sweeney earlier. We wouldn't want to have too much Sydney Sweeney because you can apparently have. No, you can't. All right. The last thing it's Xing is National Candy Day.
National Candy Day. You know what came across my stream?
Much more exciting than baseball.
No, but still really good. What came across my stream the other day was, you ever seen the clip of Mike Leach when the Bulldogs played a Halloween game and he was asked about his thoughts on candy corn?
Yes.
He ended up giving like a full-ass speech. I need you to know Mike Leach was way ahead of the game because, and I've forgotten this, in that speech, he calls out as an all-time great Nerds Clusters. And I completely forgot. And about 6 months ago, the lady friend got on the Nerds Clusters bandwagon. And I got to tell y'all, I am addicted. It is a problem at this point. I can't go in a gas station with it. And I love the blue ones, but they also just introduced Nerds Clusters with like the gummy in the middle is now filled like like Gushers used to be. Remember Gushers?
Yeah.
So now there's Nerds Clusters.
By the way.
It's a layer of nerd and then a gummy, and then it's got like the Gusher stuff in the middle. Absolutely out of this world. Mike Leach, legend, icon, ahead of his gosh danged time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for us. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, sucks to be you. Come back tomorrow. We'll do it again, but better on the Wednesday edition, where we talk, by the way, college football playoff bracket and NFL trade deadline tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate later.
It's not my fault. It was a lower level. You know?
Creepy background Gronk laugh is worse than up front Gronk laugh.
It was definitely worse. I didn't think it could be, and now we know.
Dick Cheney trending. Everybody check your face. Because he shot a guy in the face. That's a thing that happened in real life. And we all just moved on like that was totally a normal thing that happened. That was fun.
How many years ago was that?
God, a lot.
Okay.
A lot of the years ago. Chipper Jones just retweeted the Braves announcement of Walt Weiss and said, boom, love this dude. It's like, yeah, he was your teammate. Of course you did.
Should he not say that?
It's just not again, I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see how it's the right hire, man. Just don't get it. What are you going to do? He died? No, he didn't. Did Dick Cheney die?
He might have. He was pretty old.
I mean, I know that. I mean, he was old when he was vice president.
You feel bad now?
No.
You're not?
No. Yeah, 84. Pneumonia complications. Yeah. I'm going to say Dick Cheney exits this mortal plane with a complicated existence and legacy. I think that's fair. Okay, dudes and dudettes, I got a jet. Thanks for being here. We got a jet because I don't think Lonzo's staying here. So.
Well, not in this room.
No, fair enough. Yeah. I got to go play with my new computer. I'm going to say play with my new pooter. Realize that could have sounded dumb.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Play with my new pooter.
You go play with it.
I'm gonna go play with my pooter. Y'all have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks for being here. I appreciate all of you. You're amazing people. Tell your friends about us. Help us grow the show so we can get rich and famous and retired. I don't care which order that comes in. Have a great day. Go watch K-pop Demon Hunters. George Kittle says it's good. And so do I. Goodbye.